Welcome back, guys. Today, we will be discussing the cardiac cycle. And no, not the heart going on its bi-monthly bicycle hike up to the Blue Mountains. Rather, the series of mechanical events that occur during one heartbeat. Follow me, guys, and let me walk you through it. Now, the cardiac cycle, as stated before, describes the series of mechanical events involving changes in pressure and volume which occur during one heartbeat. As we have covered before, these mechanical events occur as a result of what? Exactly. Electrical impulses normally generated by the SA node and moving through the electrical conduction system of the heart. In a healthy heart, beating at about 75 beats per minute, the total time for this event is 0.8 seconds, quicker than Mr. Bolt himself. Two terms you need to be familiar with going into this are systole and diastole. Systole describes contraction of the heart, and diastole refers to the relaxation of the heart. So how do we remember this? Well, when you die, as in diastole, you are relaxed because, you're dead. So if I say atrial diastole, what does that mean? Perfect. The atria are relaxed. One very important thing, however, guys, normally when the terms systole and diastole are used plainly, meaning without a description of whether it's atrial or ventricular, it is normally referencing the ventricles. Now that we have that covered, let's jump right into the phases of the cardiac cycle. Now, I want you to imagine that you are a tiny red blood cell floating around the body, just minding your business. You know, the daily job dropping off fresh oxygen and dash with the nasty carbon dioxide. But today, we are going to hop onto our bicycles and take a detailed trip through the body to understand the phases of the cardiac cycle. The first phase is atrial systole. So you have entered the atrium, and the atrium squeezes and juices out the final 20 to 30% of what we call the end diastolic volume. But wait, what? What is the end diastolic volume, or EDV? Well, the EDV is the final volume of blood within each ventricle at the end of atrial systole. Normally, this volume is around 120 milliliters. So as one would expect during atrial systole, the pressure within the atrium rises and even surpasses the pressure within the ventricle. Therefore, the atrioventricular valves, or AV valves, open, allowing blood to flow from both atria into the ventricles. So we move on as a tiny red blood cell into the next phase, which is isovolumetric contraction. Right, big words. Don't worry, peeps, let's break down the word. Iso means same, and volumetric, well, volume. Same, volume. During isovolumetric contraction, the cardiomyocytes of the ventricles have begun contracting. The pressure generated by this increase in force is powerful enough to close the AV valves, but has not yet generated enough pressure to open the semilunar valves of the heart, which lead to the aorta and pulmonary arteries. The pressures will continue to rise, and you, our little tiny red blood cell, will soon be free. It's less than 0.8 seconds after all. The next phase is ventricular systole, or rapid ejection. It is at this point that the ventricles can muster up just enough pressure to burst through the semilunar valves and eject blood into the aorta and pulmonary arteries. Now, the stroke volume is ejected from the heart. Get it? Stroke, as in heartbeat. Perfect. The stroke volume is normally 70 milliliters. On that note, if at the beginning of contraction we had an end diastolic volume of 120 milliliters and we pump out a stroke volume of 70 milliliters, what volume is left in the heart? Basic easy maths, right? 50 milliliters. This now represents your end systolic volume. Once you, or tiny red blood cell, have been pumped out of the ventricles, we enter the next phase, isovolumetric ventricular relaxation. Yes guys, same concept. Isovolumetric equals same volume. So during this phase, the ventricles are relaxing just after contracting, but that end systolic volume of 50 milliliters has not changed. The semilunar valves have closed, but the ventricles have not relaxed enough for the atrioventricular valves to open and bring blood in from the atria. Again, there is no change in volume. Once the ventricles have relaxed enough, that brings us to the next phase of rapid ventricular filling. The atrioventricular valves are now open and blood comes rushing in. While the ventricles are about their business, isovolumetrically contracting and relaxing and having the atrioventricular valves act like a policeman stopping blood from flowing in, blood around the body does not stop flowing. The atria act as reservoirs until the atrioventricular valves open again and bloops, the collected blood drops right in. Exactly. Rapid ventricular filling. The next phase in this cycle is slow ventricular filling. At this point, the atria merely serve as a conduit for blood passing from the body into the heart, because the atrioventricular valves are still open. Both the rapid ventricular filling phase and the slow ventricular filling phase contribute to the first 70 to 80% of end diastolic volume. And we then know which phase comes next. That's right, the atria contract in atrial systole. And that, my tiny red blood cells, is how you get around the body.